There's a huge amount of emphasis put on rigs. And one thing within that emphasis, there's so many inconsistencies. Now the match angler in me screams consistency. Find a rig that really works, is so efficient, and then I can really focus on all the different things that really make it the difference on the day. Location, different bait selection. So I've ended up with one rig, which is my go-to rig when I'm fishing on the deck. 99% of the time I will use what we call the LQ rig. Now it's made from a material called 𝘃𝗵𝗶𝗀𝗃. Now 𝘃𝗵𝗃 is a coated dyneema, so it's totally different than a braid, and also it's got a translucent stiff alpha coating which you actually steam stiff. So what you end up with is a rig that gives you supreme rotation, very unobtrusive, very anti-tangle, and in combination with all the other components it is so incredibly efficient. No word of a lie, it's caught us thousands upon thousands of fish, hence why we don't really muck around with it too much, because we can adapt it for both the bottom and pop-up. So this is how to make it. The first thing you do is take your spool of 𝘃𝗵𝗃, 25 pound, and I'm going to remove about 14 inches. I'm going to make up a rig of only about 5.5 inches. I don't need to fish a long rig. I'm not trying to get it away from the man-made lead or feeder, because I'm using obviously a natural stone. The next stage is, and this nifty little board here, is to actually remove a section of that outer coating. So I'm going to be using a size 6 grip. So I'm just going to literally measure off on my little board here to number 6, and then I'm going to, shouldn't be doing it, use my teeth just to break the coating, and then I will pull that all the way off. The next stage is to create the hair loop. With my eyes, this is always a bit of a challenge. So again, with my little markings on my board here, I fold that in half. So just simply an overhand loop. So I can use that for my boilie stop. A little bit fiddly, but easily done. When you're making a rig, it really does need to be consistent. Especially if you've designed it to be consistent, there's no room for error. So just trim everything down. Next stage is just a simple knotless knot. So always working through the back, put the tag end through, and then pull down through. Now on my board here, but obviously hair length is a personal thing, but I'm just going to mark it off. I've got little numbers on my board here. So I'm going to go to number 6 because I'm using a size 6 hook, and then always work around the back. So I'm now going to go round the back, and I'm going to go 14 times, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to stop at 8, make sure that the hair is running down the back of the shank, and then bunch the fibres up together. Then I'm going to come down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now this is the bit that you need to really get right. Now I've obviously made loads of these, so I know that the coating amount of strip will give me the exposed dyneema I need, because I'm going to put a kicker onto that. So the next stage is I'm going to get some of my serious shrink, and the first piece I'm going to use as a kicker is about 1/4 inch. So I'm just going to cut that off, and I'm going to feed that through. The next stage is to take another piece of serious shrink, and it's about 1 inch. Then I'm going to feed that through. Pull all that down, let that sit down there. Now, this is quite unusual how the material works with dyneema. So I'm normally aiming for a 5.5 inch rig. So I'm going to go on my rig board here to 5.5. And there we go. So I'm going to bend that over. And then I'm going to feed my swivel on. Now all you have to do here, I know it's unusual and it might give you, you know, you might be a tad suspicious, but don't be. All you need to do is literally do an overhand loop. That's all you, no other knot, just a simple overhand loop. Pull that slowly down and then tighten. I'm just going to cut that little bit of tag end off there. So all I'm going to do now is push that 1 inch piece of shrink over the swivel and pull it right up over the eye. And I'm going to cut off that piece of tag line. And so now at the moment that looks a bit of an ugly duckling, and the next thing is to steam it off, and then you will produce a rig I just cannot beat, whether it's for bottom or pop-up. firstly, a word of caution. Obviously, we're using hot steam here. A kettle with a small spout that really gets that steam out is working the best. So the first thing is I'm going to create a small kicker. Now this serious shrink is really wicked stuff. It shrinks down really tight, really quickly. The next stage is my little anti-tankle boom at the back of the rig. Put it out on the baiting needle and literally just pull the whole rig, not getting it too close to the kettle, but through the steam 3 or 4 times. Steam's really down, everything really firms up, and you'll get a rig that is absolutely incredibly efficient. And the key here as well is you've basically got this stiffness, almost like a little fishing rod. So very stiff to very supple. You break the back of the fibres and you get a massive amount of rotation. The kicker is widening the gape and making a more aggressive turn. Anti-tangle, simple, bottom bait or pop-up. Just so very, very efficient, and we can't beat it. And the amount of fish we catch really is the proof of the pudding, I suppose.